Alright, today we're going to watch my Dawn 13 that I did. Half a pug. The two other DPS in the group are pugs, but I'm in Discord with the tank and the healer, so that should make it a little easier. I've been trying to record an AoE opener rotation for like M plus video for like the last week, and I've gone through like 12 VODs and I mess it up every time, so let's see what I mess up this time. There, I got knocked out of stealth, so I had to vanish to reapply Deathstalker. Pretty bad. What else do we mess up here? I think the other thing I've been doing is I have not been getting caustic spatter up before hitting my cooldowns. So like I need to make sure I mutilate before before I hit Deathmark and Kingsbane. That's kind of like the habit I'm trying to break right now. What I've been doing is like I garrote, well, ambush, garrote, rupture, and then at that point I think I should be sending the mutilate to get caustic spatter up into like either another garrote or a fan of knives into a Crimson Tempest, and then start my cooldowns, especially on higher keys where mobs live a lot longer. I think like I built the habit when I was doing lower keys of sending Deathmark sooner because mobs died so fast. But now that we're doing 13s, we're trying to do some 14s. I think you can do your full ramp up to Kingsbane and still get full value out of it where like mobs aren't dead by the time Kingsbane expires. So that's just something I need to work on. There I just shivved in between Kingsbanes. That's the other thing I've been trying to get better at, is there's like this very tight window, and it is tight. Like it doesn't feel good. Like if you don't hit shiv the second it's available, you're not going to be able to get the full 8 seconds in your next Kingsbane. But I'm still trying it because I think I said this in my last video, is like Kingsbane's a minute, shiv is 30 seconds. Like you should be getting a lot more shivs off than you are Kingsbanes, and I've always been saving it for the Kingsbane window. And again, that's just a habit out of raid. When you have 2 charges of shiv, you're saving it every time for your cooldown window, and so that habit is kind of leaked into my M plus play. So I've been trying to do a little bit better job of shivving between the cooldowns. Like here, shiv's back up, right? And we're totally fine because I hit it early enough. It also probably helped that we were traveling here through the air. Oh boy, I just died. All right, hold up. Let's back up. What went wrong here? We got the web. We have Cloak of Shadows. We hit Feint. We probably could have Crimson Vialed. We definitely should have potioned. Yeah, not good. I wonder what happened to our healer. Maybe he fell through the ship and I didn't realize. Didn't get the re-stealth going into the pack. Not great. So this pull's probably scuffed.
The howl does nothing. Like you don't need to actually like kick it. You could obviously, but it doesn't scale with.
Man, nothing sweat crazy here. I mean, Dawnbreaker.
It's like as if
doesn't. It's more of like a scary healing check, kind of. Once you get on the ground and you're dealing with the mini bosses, I feel like that's when Dawnbreaker gets really scary. The first pull's a little scary, but you have lust, you have cooldowns. You just hit evasion during your cooldowns, like you're gonna live.
It doesn't do anything even.
It gets really scary when you start doing the mini bosses, though. There'll be more to talk about there.
Oh, thank goodness I fucking parried that.
Excuse me. Holding Kingsbane because this is almost dead. We'll just send it on the mobs on the next tower, boat, airship, whatever you want to call it. We had some good DPS in this group, if I remember. Like, I think I might have got last, for being honest.
I kicked the weapon.
Double rupture there, which we don't need to do. I guess there's 4 targets, so we get a little bit of value.
Yeah.
Probably worth it just for the scent of blood alone. Fan of knives, and when you got 2 or more targets, that's another thing I was really bad at, that I've been trying to get better at, is like I just sent 3 mutilates. Like, what am I doing, right? You only need 1 mutilate to reapply the caustic and then go back to fan of knife spamming.
Let's
Here, Caustic's about to expire. 1 Mutilate, back into Fan of Knives. So that was a little better. Deathstalker debuff is up.
Man,
The Darkest Night.
Spider, man.
For this boss, nothing special to call out, really. It's like, don't stand and stuff. And as melee, it's kind of brainless, right? Like, you don't stand and stuff, and you don't get targeted with the pools that drop on the ground.
Oh,
Full
shit, I
DPS
just fucked
rotation
up.
here.
But I lived because it was only fucking 13.
You can. I'm trying to think if there's a good time to feint here. Like if you even need to feint anything. Maybe this debuff you feint. But I think that's just like a healing absorb. I don't think there's anything really you need to worry about. Right here, we're just trying to keep Envenom uptime. So you're not really pooling energy, but you're watching your Envenom debuff tracker here. And I'm running Twisted Knife, which means I have 2 stacks. So sometimes I'll hit it trying to get that. Ooh, right there. We shivved instantly. So we'll see if it comes up back in time for the Kingsbane window. Which it probably will, because we'll probably have to fly away. I probably won't Kingsbane until we get back on the ground. But yeah, I'm watching my Envenom buff here, right? And like all I'm trying to do is maintain that for as long as I can. And it doesn't even, you don't even need to maintain 2 stacks. Like maintaining 1 is just fine. Here I'm spending a little bit because I know we're about to fly. So like there's no reason for me to keep it at 1 stack. I can push 2 stacks because we're going to be jumping up in here and we're going to be getting the free, quote unquote, free energy regen because we're flying around, right? Also, apparently this Shadow Bolt doesn't scale in higher keys. So it's like not actually that important to kick. Like it, for whatever reason, they didn't buff that. Fun little fact that my tank Quacky taught me about. Alright, so we send the Kingsbane. Shiv was obviously up because we were flying that whole time, so we didn't have to worry about that. Hopefully we get to see that at least one time in this dungeon. Here we're pooling again, right? We're just waiting for that Envenom debuff to fall off.
Wow, man.
More beams. Again, super easy fight for melee. Alright, we shivved instantly there. We will 100% get a Kingsbane window going here. And Deathmark's off cooldown right now, so I wonder if I should have saved that first Kingsbane a little bit. I don't know what the difference in the timer was. Maybe I'll write that on the screen when I go back and watch the recording. I'll see what I should have done. Alright, so we send the Deathmark. Send the Kingsbane. Oh boy. Shadow Step. That was spooky. Alright.
That was interesting.
Did I shiv early there? Huh. Vanish during our offensive cooldown for Master Assassin. Talked about that a few times, but basically you get increased critical strike while in stealth and for 12 seconds after, because I think we're running Shrouded Suffocation is the name of the talent. I'll put those up on the screen. But that's another thing that I need to get better at. If you're running the 12-second stealth after breaking stealth talent, you should be vanishing at 12 seconds left in Kingsbane, right? Not 6. So that's another habit where we didn't run that talent for so long, so I'm so used to vanishing on 6. I haven't even updated my weak aura yet, so that's what I'm gonna do. Is be like just a reminder, like, hey, you should vanish at 12 seconds. It's just like 6 seconds of value. I feel like is kind of insane. So definitely want to get better at that. Here, Kingsbane, shivving. Maybe it would have been worth it to save. If we're going to pull into this pack, save that Kingsbane. We might have gotten more damage out of it. But we still got some value. Not upset about it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is kind of like some people who shall not be named were kind of like talking about how they were saving cooldowns for a boss for like an extended period of time because they wanted to get through the boss faster. And I just don't know if I agree with that for like an M+ situation. Obviously some bosses are super scary and you need to do that kind of thing. Like Mist is the perfect example, right? Like you need to save cooldowns for I guess what you would call the second phase when you're burning Ingra or whatever the smaller dude's name is. Like that makes a lot of sense. You have to save cooldowns because the fight, you don't want that fight to go through more phases than you have to. But the whole point is like in general, the way I think about M plus is like it's kind of just math, right? Like you have to get through X percentage and you have to get through X bosses. And like the amount of health that you have to get through to complete that is static. Like the health you have to deplete from the enemy health pool is like a static number. So whether you're putting that damage into a boss or into mobs, like you're still taking it from the same health pool. Now I think like, so that's one part of it, but the other part is like efficiency, right? Like it is more efficient to send your cooldowns in a big pack because you're taking a larger chunk of that health pool and reducing it faster. So like that part makes sense of like when you would want to save cooldowns for big packs or large health pools, because the more efficiently you can get rid of, 8 million health instead of getting rid of 8 million health in 30 seconds is better than getting rid of 2 million health in 30 seconds, right? So there's like efficiency to be gained on like when you spend your cooldowns, but on the flip side is like the health pool is static. So like you have to get through, if you can get through 2 million health in 5 seconds instead of getting through 8 million health in like 30 seconds. I don't know what I'm trying to like do with this last point, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. That mini boss, talk through the whole thing, sorry. Not super dangerous as a rogue. We can just Cloak of Shadows, the debuff. I would evasion, feint, another debuff if I got it. And then if I got a third one, I would probably use potion, right? So just think about like feint and potion. And then I would just feint after that and hope I didn't get a last one. I can't remember if Stone Form works on it. It's not on CD, so either I didn't use it or it doesn't work on it. Another thing I learned about these, what are these guys called? Mana Stalker Shadows or Manifested Shadows, is the super dangerous ability, which is Dark Flows. They cast when their mana goes below 50%. So right here, this guy's mana was at 45%. His next cast is going to be Dark Flows, which is the super dangerous one. So that's why it's beneficial to burn one down, because every time they cast a spell, they use mana. So it's kind of just like a timer, right? It's like if they cast 4 spells or whatever the number is, they're going to start casting mana flows. So it's really helpful to burn one of those down to guarantee it doesn't Dark Flow. Because if they're both up at the same time when Dark Flows hits, it's a static timer. It's just based on the number of casts they do. But I learned that, I think during this dungeon, Lancelot, who the hunter we play with, was talking about it. This mini boss is super scary. Get the debuff here. We don't do anything, but we have Blessing of Sacrifice on us. I'm gonna guess because my health didn't drop because of the Blessing of Sacrifice. I didn't even realize I had the debuff, to be honest. But I should have fainted even with Blessing of Sacrifice, probably, right? We're definitely fainting every single one of the balls that goes out. Those do scary damage. All right, see there, we got the debuff. We instantly Cloak of Shadows it. Don't save Cloak of Shadows there. You want to send it. This is the only part of the dungeon. So I might talk about I probably won't talk about my talents at the end because I'm trying to make that M plus guide video. But this is the only part of the dungeon I wish I had Iron Wire. I'm not running Iron Wire. One, because Quacky, we're in comms together. He's a prop paladin. He has 100 bazillion stops. And then 2, Dawnbreaker doesn't have a lot of scary casts. Like this is the time where you wish you had Iron Wire. There's like 2 pulls, and honestly the damage is manageable even if you're not perfectly kicking everything. Like if you have enough AoE stops, which we do, right? We have grips, we have capacitor totem, kick, AoE blind is on cooldown. We use that, thankfully. So this is one of the dungeons, if you were like wanted to play around with dropping Iron Wire in some of your lower keys and not be a totally sandbagger, this is a good key to do that in. And then you can just kind of get an idea for the numbers, right? Like, how much does it help your single target? How much does it help your AoE, depending on if you take Sanguine Blades or Twist the Knife? Or if you're in low keys, you don't want to run Iron Wire, and you want to pick up I think it's called Scent of Blood, whatever that bottom right talent is in the talent tree. Like, you could do that too if you were just running 8s, for Crest. That's probably what I would do. This mini boss, again, is like, it's mostly scary for the healer. It's scary for you if you get the debuff and the AoE at the same time. You're just going to be pressing Feint a lot. Right, so let's see what happens here if we get any of the debuffs. We're pressing Feint, and that's all we need, right? Because we have the priest bubble down. Like, I'm not scared at all with Feint in the priest bubble. Again, not vanishing here. I don't see a reason why not to vanish during that. That was probably a mistake. We're going to the boss next. You don't need the boss for vanish, right? It's better for your cooldowns. We get the debuff there. Instantly Cloak of Shadows, and then we Feint, which was not necessary with the Cloak of Shadows, but it's whatever, habits. We Feint the AoE there. I think feinting just the AoE will keep you alive pretty much through most of these, plus a little bit of healing from the healer. You'll be good to go. Not super scary. All right, we get another debuff. We Feint late, we potion, and then we evasion for the AoE. So, that was pretty good, right? This should be dead before we get another one. We don't really need another button, thankfully. To the boss. Yeah, one thing I want to say is I've been thinking about this, and it'll be in my guide. If you're a new to Assassination Rogue and you're pushing keys, I legitimately think you could macro Feint to Deathmark, and it's not like troll at all. Like, it's not a bad, it's actually, I think 100% worth it. Like, if you're analyzing your logs and you're not hitting Feint enough, attaching it to your cooldowns and keeping yourself alive when you're using Deathmark and Kingsbane, I think will give you a lot of value as a new player. But I'll talk about that more if I ever get that opener guide video up. Here I vanish. Okay, so yeah, this might be why I say vanish. I really like vanishing on these ads. To the point where running double vanish in this dungeon would feel good for this boss alone. I think this boss this boss is the scariest boss, in my opinion, as a DPS, because you really can't leave those ads up. You're going to have a very bad time. There's too many healing checks going out to be letting casts from those ads going off. And so, getting the ruptures out on them for Scent of Blood to increase the caustic spatter damage is just, and obviously to do the damage of the bleeds on the ads is so good. It's so good. Watching this back makes me want to run double vanish for just this dungeon. Here we get the ruptures out. Again, because Scent of Blood is very good. We have the ball, so we got to run away. You're Feinting every single one of these balls. I'll probably reapply Feint. This is the overlap. I'm not hitting another button because we have the priest bubble down, right? If we didn't have that priest bubble, I would 100% need to have sent evasion or Cloak of Shadows there. But that's the only reason I didn't, right? So this is where you the awareness comes into play. You need to have some base understanding of other people's abilities, right? You need to know priest bubble is a really strong cooldown. AMZ for DK, if you're in AMZ, you can get away with just a Feint, right? Here's the ads, right? It's getting really scary. That was a good blind by that our Frosty K, or is it Unholy? I don't know. Unholy. That was a good blind. So we evasion this one. We'll probably cloak the shadows the next one if we were to get it. I don't think we will.
I mean, it's still good.
But yeah, look, our DPS is so good in this key. But yeah, I would say this is the scariest boss is DPS. And then I think the last boss is a scary healing check. It's not too mechanically difficult as a DPS, right? Alright, we vanish again here, so it's back up. Love that. We don't really need it. We probably could have just sent it to the boss that whole time, and it would have been smarter to say vanish for the ads coming up on the boat, but probably tunnel visioned a little bit there. I definitely get into one thing I'm not very good at is like when to burn boss. I think Stone Vault's another good example of where people burn the boss instead of killing orbs. I like to just do the mechanics, get those right, and like so a lot of these are pass fail, right? But as you get into higher keys, it's more important that you're kind of optimizing and you're not wasting time doing that, because the seconds are just harder to come by. Another little fun tidbit here, if you're a tank watching this for some reason, is it's really good to tank, like this tank positioning that we have here. It doesn't happen every time, but sometimes the ads spawn here, and it is actually like insanely nice for the DPS. Like this felt so good. All right, we Cloak of Shadows that debuff. That debuff is super scary. You want to make sure you're spread out, and you want to make sure you hit a button for it. But yeah, this tank position is like, you can just see it, like both of those ad phases were so clean, partly because we have a DK, right? Like that's kind of cheating. They're really strong. But look at like we don't have to run to get kicks. We don't have to run to spread our ruptures. Love it. Everything has to die here, so it's not like too important that you're focusing any one thing the whole time.
You good, man?
Yes. Yeah, I'm good. All right, super healthy on the timer here. Feel really good about that. This boss, nothing crazy, right? You just want to make sure you're sending something for every one of the AoE poison debuffs. That's kind of the only scary part. So we'll see what we send here. We have the AMZ, which is nice. We could probably just get away with a feint here, and we're not going to send anything because we're bad. That's embarrassing. Should have sent a feint there, even with the AMZ. And if the AMZ wasn't there, we'd probably be dead. Yeah, but that's the only scary part of this fight. The other little tip you can do is those barrels have timers on them. If you notice, like when they're on the ground, they have this little spinner. You can save a bomb in the second set until like the last possible second to get some extra free damage off on the boss. That's what they do in like super high keys, because there's like 8 seconds here. If he doesn't send this bomb, right, he's still got like, we probably had 8 seconds on there where you can just get free damage, because you're not going to get another poison wave that you have to heal through. So it's kind of you get free damage before you go into the transition here. So if you want to be the guy that like, or gal that picks up that last bomb and sends it, it's a good play. Obviously don't let it explode, because then you'll just brick a key that if you're at this point in the key and still playing, I would say it's not free, but it's like if you get to this point with a healthy timer, that means your DPS is good enough, and that means your healer is good enough to pass any healing checks, right? If you can pass the healing checks on the last boss, or the boss before this one, I should say, you can pass the healing checks on Rasha here. All right. Again, nothing too hard as DPS on this boss. You're gonna send feints when you get the web debuff. You can send a feint when the web debuffs get snapped off. Again, feint is such a good button. Here we're doing our cooldown, so we got a little greedy. We didn't want to leave, so we sprint at the last possible second. I haven't confirmed this yet, but as a rogue,
targeted by the spinnerets?
you could jump down behind the boss, drop your web down there and then shadow step back to the boss as kind of a way to keep keep uptime on the boss, 1, and then 2,
You guys got
keep the area around you clean.
We gotta get Wolfman to see a DK leveled up. That man's some
Let's see, is there anything else to call out here?
Yo, if that's
Oh,
me,
I don't even realize I have the web. That was bad.
my bad.
That was very bad web.
Have you tried the run off?
Obviously, take those
shadow
out.
step
Take those
strategy?
out. You don't need to be pushing every last second of DPS here. We Cloak of Shadows that, which overlaps with the Priest Bubble. Not good. But we still have Evasion, we still have Feint, and we still have Potions, so I'm not too worried about it. This boss is a slog, man.
Clear my mistake away.
I'm sure that DPS was like, who put this web here?
The poison right on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, this is a clean Dawnbreaker. All right, what do we do here? Evasion, Feint, right? Just rotating through those cooldowns. Evasion, Feint is something I like to do a lot. Cloak of Shadows by itself is something I like to do a lot. And then Feint with Crimson Vial is something I like to do. And then Feint with your healing potion. You know, that's like, what, 5 options? Like, Assassination Rogue is very tanky. There's a lot of mechanics you can just vanish. You know, Grimbatol, the Corruptors come to mind. You can just vanish one of those and save a defensive cooldown. Really should not be dying much as an Assassination Rogue.
Watch your step. Target you.
Nice. GG.
GG.